Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay, and in this video, we're gonna go over the Sony ZV-1 Mark II quick start guide style. So I'm gonna get you up and running as fast as possible with your new camera, but be sure to subscribe because I'm also gonna come out with a highly detailed beginner's guide. This is a quick start guide, gonna get you up and running really fast. Let's get into it. All right, so when you get the camera, these are the basic parts that come with it in my kit. Now this is a pre-production model, so I am assuming that you're gonna get the same exact thing as I got here. So the first thing we're gonna do is put the battery in and start charging this beast. So if you flip the camera over to the bottom, we have a little slide lever here that pops the door open, and then we put the battery in. And the battery goes in like this from this perspective. And you just push it down and it clicks closed. Now there's this little blue lever there that will allow you to take the battery out if you want. Kind of locks it in there. Then right behind the battery, we have a memory card slot. Now, the memory cards I like to use are these. This is a UHS 2 memory card. So you can see there it's 300 megabits per second. So the read and write speed is really fast, and it's a high quality card. You could also use this card, which is a slower card, but will also work fine. It's a UHS 1 card as opposed to a UHS 2 card. So it just will take a little bit longer when transferring the photos on and off the camera, for example. Either one of those will work. And I'll have links below, guys, for all this stuff, by the way. So if you need recommendations for stuff, just below in the description area. So the memory card is going to go in this way from this perspective. So it's going to go in like so. And then that clicks down, and then to take it out, you can just click it and it pops up, and then you can pull it out if you want. I'm just going to close the door and slide that little lever over like so. So now what we have on the side is this USB port, and that's where you would go about charging the camera. So if I pop that door open here, you can see it's a USB-C, which is really nice because this will actually act as PD power as well. So you can just use a PD power source like I have here. I have like a wall outlet that goes to a USB-C cable, and it's really high power, so you can just plug that in, and that will start charging the camera. And you can see here, the orange light within the on-off switch is letting you know that it's charging. Now, what Sony provides is a cable right here that you would just plug in, like so, and then this would plug into the wall, of course. This end of the cable would plug into the charger. Now, let me just put this diffuser on here. So I'm just going to pull this cable out. Now, just really quickly, just to let you guys know, if you need to use the HDMI port, there's a micro HDMI here on the side that you can use. And there's also a mic port right here on the top that you can use if you want to use external microphones. There is no headphone jack, though, on this camera. All right, guys, so once the battery is fully charged, let's hit that on button here. All right, so when you first turn it on, you're presented with the language selection menu here. So I'm just going to select English. That's what I speak. And now it's telling you that certain features of this camera may involve using biometric data. So you can actually register faces in the camera, and that's what they're talking about. So there'll actually be people's faces stored. So it's just warning you. So I'm just going to click OK. Now it's also prompting you to connect to your smartphone. Now I have a dedicated video on this, guy, so I'm not going to do that right now. You could just watch the dedicated video and it'll walk you through that whole process because it's a little bit involved. It's not crazy complicated, but there's like a handshake process that goes back and forth. So I'm just going to hit Do Not Connect for now. And you can go right here later into the Smart Connect menu to do that. Now it's telling me to select the date and time. So let me hit Enter. And I'm just going to click the set button here as the center of this dial. So if you hit the center button here, that'll also act as enter. So I'm just going to click that. I'm going to click that. Now we're looking at May. So today's date is May 20th, and it is 11:12. So I'm just going to click the OK button here. All right, so now I'm being presented with the auto power off temperature option, and I highly recommend setting this to high. So I'm going to hit set now, yes, because what it'll do, it'll actually time limit your video, so it'll only record for so long before it stops. If you turn this on, you'll have unlimited recording, unless the camera actually overheats, of course. So I'm going to click OK here. And now it's telling you that you can swipe up and down when using this new touch interface, which is absolutely awesome. I'll show you that in a second. Click OK. And there you go. So the camera just turned on and it actually powered the power zoom, lifted the camera up off the desk. So again, you could swipe up here to get to the function menu, or you can just hit the function menu button, as you can see, and you can swipe to get these away. If you swipe out, it'll get rid of those. If you swipe in, it'll bring those menus back. By default, in movie mode. So if you hit this mode button here, it'll cycle through the modes. So you can see this button right there. So I'm just going to cycle through, and you'll see the mode change on the top right of the screen. Now I'm in S&Q mode. It's intelligent S&Q mode. And if I hit it one more time, now I am in photo mode. So I'm in intelligent auto mode for photography. And if I go back to video here, again, now I'm in video and I'm in intelligent auto video mode. And you know that because it's green, it stands out. Like green means it's like intelligent auto, no matter if you're in photo, video, or whatever. So if you want to change that, you can just tap on the button to change the mode, and now you can change your shoot mode. So program auto will give you quite a bit more power, but I highly recommend leaving it in full auto for now, guys. This is a quick start guide coming from the perspective of a beginner here. You want to get out there and you want to take photos and videos as quickly as possible, as easy as possible. Leave it in full auto mode for now. Until you get used to the camera a little bit. Now, if you know what the more advanced modes do, by all means use them. But if you're new to the camera and you have no idea what any of that stuff is, I highly recommend just leaving it in full auto for now. Play with the camera for a couple days, maybe a few weeks, things like that. Come back and then watch the beginner's guide, and I'll show you how to use the more advanced modes in way more detail. In any event, you have all these different options here throughout the screen. So you have face smoothing here, so it'll actually make your face look a little softer. It'll smooth it out. It's on by default, by the way. You have product showcase here, so if you want to hold a product in front of the camera, you can enable this. And now it's on. See, it says products showcase on. And so what that basically does is it turns off facial recognition. So if you hold something up in front of the camera like this, it'll like focus on your hand. You see how it's not focusing on my hand right now? That's because I have facial recognition turned on. So I have to actually block my face, and now it focuses on my hand. So what Product Showcase does, it shuts off facial recognition. So you can just hold something up and it'll focus on it immediately, even if your face is in the scene. So they just have a button for you right on the screen. So now you also have a zoom step option here. You could see the different zoom steps if you want to do that. And notice it has like a little X there. So to disable it, you just have to tap it again, like so. Now, of course, while we're in here in video mode, I just wanted to show you how you could zoom in and out. And it zooms really fast, as you can see here. Now watch when I get to 50 millimeter. You see how it can go further? That's clear image zoom. So now watch when I hit record. I'm just going to hit the record button here, and now I'm recording video. Watch how slow the zoom is compared to when I'm not recording. And you can change this. So I just wanted to show you that, how it's much slower when recording video. All right, so this feature right here is called CineVlog. Now, if you turn CineVlog on, it's going to really look cool, as you'll see in a second. You have a bunch of different modes here. See how it says Classic, Auto, and then it has an AFM option there? The AFM stands for the focus transition speed. So if you want a nice, slow focus transition speed, you can go in there and change it just by tapping on it. So now that I have it tapped, you could see a couple options came up. You have high, medium, and low. So that's how you would change your focus transition speed. Now, when you're using CineVlog mode, it does lock you down to this cropped aspect ratio, which is called CineScope, but it also does lock it down to 24 frames per second, just to let you know. You can't use CineVlog in any other frames per second. It'll automatically switch the camera to 24 frames per second, depending on what mode you're in. Like if you're at 60 frames or whatever, or 30 frames, it'll automatically switch it for you if you're using CineVlog. All right, guys, so one thing we need to talk about is when you're using these buttons on the screen, it's very easy to accidentally touch somewhere else. Like if you're trying to touch one of these buttons and you miss it, you can see how that little tracking box comes up. So to cancel that tracking box, there's another box that pops up right there on the top. You could just tap that, and that will cancel the tracking box. But anyways, Classic, now I'm in the CineVlog Classic mode, and there's a bunch of different modes here. You got Clean, you got Chick, you got Fresh, and you got Monochrome. And notice within Fresh, Chick, and Clean, and Classic, you have this Auto option there. So if you click on Auto, now you have all these different options within. So you got Gold, you got Ocean, you got Forest, for example, and those are the different like looks within the Classic mode, or you can just go to Auto if you want. Now, in addition to that, on the bottom right, you have even more power. So you can go in here and you can change the brightness and darkness of the scene, but because we're in CineVlog, that's all you can do. And you just tap on the screen, it'll bring it back out. So if I turn CineVlog off, and now I go to these creative options here, it'll allow me to change the warmth and the coolness. And then if you click on this auto option here, this is where all the creative looks are. So you can go in here and you can change the camera to standard, portrait, neutral, vivid, and so forth. So standard is what I normally use, but I'm just going to leave it on auto for now. And you can just tap on the screen to get out of that. And that is the basic functions here. Now, also, you have right here the audio option. So if you tap on this audio icon here, it'll change the way the direction is on the mic. So watch if I tap it here. Now it says rear. So the mic direction is now facing the rear of the camera. Now this mode, auto, will intelligently figure out where the audio is coming from and just switch it for you. So it seems to work pretty good. Sometimes you might want to hard set it. So in this mode now I have the audio aimed out the front. So this is for if you're doing selfie type recording. And again, if you're in front of the camera, you can see here how much easier this is to use now with the screen right there. You have all these options. You can just swipe up to get to the function menu. All right, so I'm just going to go into the menu here really quick. And I just want to show you how to select a couple of things in the menu to get you up and running as fast as possible. So first thing you're going to want to do if you're recording video, in my opinion, would be to go in here and select your video format. Now, I like 4K, but if you want faster frame rates, you can choose HD, and that will give you 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second. But if you want to record in 4K, you get 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. So I like to shoot in 4K 24p. And then if you select this option here, the 60M right there, that's the record setting. So I like to have that set to 100, which is the best quality possible out of this camera when recording in 4K. So this is how I like to have the camera set, and this is how I had it set for most of the footage that I took. Now, I did also take HD footage, and I'll show you how I had the camera set for that. So I went in here, went to HD, then I went up to 60p, and I put the camera at 120p. Now that records at 120 frames per second, which allows you to slow the footage down like this. In addition, I also have that set to 100 megabits. So that's the higher quality bit rate. So you won't be able to record as long, but it is better quality. So that's how I would recommend setting it if you want to use the camera in that way. Now here's 60p you can use as well. A lot of people like to use 60p, and 50 megabits would be the good option for that. Now let me just put the camera into photography mode here. All right, so I'm in photography mode, and notice how the screen changed a little bit. So if you want to take a photo with this camera, all you have to do, again, zoom in and out with the lever. If you want to take a photo, you hit this button. Let me just bring the screen out quick. So if you press the shutter button, you can see how it focuses and then takes the photo. And now if I hit the record button, it'll start recording, and you can just touch around the screen, and the focus will move to wherever you touch, like so, and you could cancel the touch if you want by hitting this little box on the top, and that's how you would record. Now, even though I'm in photography mode, you can just hit record and it'll start recording. You could also hit this button here, and that acts as the shutter. Now, if you swipe up, you have a couple of other options here I just wanted to make you guys aware of. You have the skin smoothing I already told you about. And here you have subject detection. So you might want to change the subject detection from animal to human, depending on what you're up to. That's where that is. Then this option over here is going to be your autofocus area. So you can change how much of the screen you're using when autofocusing. So you could limit the area with this feature if you want to. And then this option right below the camera is your drive mode. You got high speed, you got medium, and then you have low. So that's all for continuous shooting, great for sports and stuff like that. And then self-timer is here. And if you go left and right with this little directional pad here, you can scroll through. You got a 2-second self-timer, 5-second, and 10-second. All right, guys, so back in the menu in photography mode here, you could see on this main menu page, you pretty much have all the options you would need. So right now I have the camera set. If you look, you could see like all the settings. I have it set to JPEG instead of RAW. If you want to change it to RAW quality, you can go in here and change it to RAW plus JPEG, whatever you prefer. That's where that option is. And then fine. So then I'm going to switch it to extra fine instead of fine there. So that'll give you like the best quality JPEG option. And then you can change the size of the file if you want. If you don't want the full 20 megapixel, you can lower that down to 10 or 5 if you prefer. Now, If you go over to the left, this will access the main categories of the menu. So if you need to get in there, you have My Menu here. You can go in there and you could add all sorts of settings to the My Menu area. And then if you just scroll down, you got different options. So this is the shooting menu. You can go in here. You can see all the different various options in there. You have exposure control. So this is where you can go and play with all that stuff. Autofocus, manual focus. This is your playback area. This is where you would set up for the smartphone connections and things like that, Bluetooth. And then down here is where we have the more advanced stuff, such as area, date, and time. You could reset the camera. So one other thing I wanted to show you here, though, was in monitor, because this camera does not have a viewfinder. So if you go into monitor brightness, you might want to change this to sunny weather. And if you change it to sunny weather, it gets way brighter. You can see how much brighter it got. This helps a lot when you're outside in bright conditions because it's a lot harder to see the screen. Now, if we want to check your photos and videos out, you just got to hit this playback button here. You can go in there and it says no images because I just formatted the card. So let me just take a photo quick. So if we go into the playback, you can see what that image looks like. And then you could use the zoom lever to zoom in on it. All right, so in the playback menu here, I just recorded a quick video so you can see what it looks like. So now if I turn, you can see there's a photo, there's a video, and if you zoom out, it'll change the size and the perspective that you're looking at this stuff. So I'm just gonna zoom out, go to the video, click that, and now the video is just gonna start playing automatically. You could stop it by touching the screen. And there you have it. All right, so for photography, one other thing I want to show you, if you hit this top left button, you know how I told you to use full auto? I just want to show you this one other option here. If you go into the shoot mode and go all the way down, there's this mode here. Now, if you go in here, there's all different modes within this mode. So this is kind of like scene selection mode is what it's called on a lot of the other Sony cameras. They set it up a little bit different on this camera though. But if you scroll through these options, you have all these different scenarios that you might find yourself in. And this is awesome if you're a beginner because it just defaults the camera to settings that will prioritize and optimize what you're trying to do. For example, night portrait. We have regular portrait. And it gives you a description of what it does as well, you know, sports and action. So if you're at the game, you can put it in sports and action mode and the camera will be all set up for you and you don't have to worry about changing any settings. Just put it in sports and action and start firing away. And they have a bunch. They got macro, landscapes, sunsets for vivid colors and things like that, night scene, and back to night portrait. So I just wanted to show you that within the mode area. And you could get in there by hitting this little icon on the top. That's where that is. So that's where you can change your modes. And you can change your modes in video as well. If we go into video here and you hit that, you can go down and you can change your modes. I hope you get out there and start taking some photos and videos. All right, guys, don't forget, links below in the description area, all those other videos I talked about and stuff. And I will catch up with you next time. Take care.